Hi, everybody. Welcome to Am I the Asshole podcast. I'm Danny Vega, joined by my lovely co-host, Sarah. Sarah, what's good with you today?
Actually, I do have some stuff that is good with me.
Wow. Imagine, folks, we're really even getting stuff from her. Now we're getting good stuff. Hit us with the juice.
Okay, so I have gone on 2 dates with this guy. We had done 2 FaceTime dates before. And basically, our first date was cool and fine. And, nothing happened. And then yesterday was our second one. And, nothing happened again. He didn't try to make a move. And I was, very confused. But also, it's COVID times. But anyway, so after he left, I texted him to be so what is the deal? I felt like I had tried to drop hints, but knowing me, they were so subtle that they weren't even hints. And he was like, oh my God, no, I feel like an idiot. And so anyway, that's the story.
Interesting. Well, look, I'm not processed with that, but see, I had the exact same experience yesterday. And I guess, let me understand your experience.
Okay.
Literally the same. Apparently our, dating periods have synced because I went on a second FaceTime date with a gal.
Yeah.
And, it was very similar. It was our second FaceTime date. It was an hour and, nothing really happened, but we talked and I had a good time. Time flew. I was really excited about that. I was like, wow, time really flew. It was 9:30. Then all of a sudden it was 10:10. And I was like, wow, that really blew by. And she said that she would watch my pie caking live stream. And I said, we'll talk soon.
Yep.
That's all. I didn't commit to anything further. And
I don't think you need to right away.
What's that?
I don't think you need to right away. You don't need to lock it in already.
Well, but that's what I'm confused about. You seem like you're not happy that you didn't get locked in.
No, because we met in person, and he didn't try to make any sort of move. So I was like, what's happening here?
Oh, so I got mixed up. You've met twice times prior on FaceTime, and then you met in person yesterday.
We met in person for the second time yesterday. Yes.
Oh, I'm totally confused. So our periods are not synced.
No.
Okay, cancel that statement, folks. So he didn't make any move. He didn't physicalize. He didn't put his arm around you or hold your hand or something like that.
Yeah, we hugged. That was it.
And give me a grasp here on a hint because, folks, as we know, and by the way, my friend Troy called me out. Also, shout out to my friend Sean, who's been giving me some therapy. Troy called us out and said that I botched the anxiety avoidant thing, but we agree anyway that you're avoidant.
Yes, I took the quiz, so now we know for real.
We know for real. So what and how, what hints did you give this guy?
I don't know, I tried to move closer to him and he kind of didn't really pick up on it and just stuff like that.
Did you say anything kind of flirtatious? I
don't know. Not expressly, I suppose.
You sound like you're making it very difficult for this guy, Sarah.
I'm
Give
not.
him a little bit of make it easy. One thing I have to say that I learned from, my ex is that she called me hot a lot. And people like to be called hot.
People do like to be called hot.
So you call him hot and he gets the message.
He gets the message now because I texted him and I was like, what is the vibe right now? What's going on sort of thing. Because I've been in a similar, well, it's not a similar experience, but I had gone out with this guy in because I don't know. I just had a flashback of oh, I've been here before. And I had gone on 4 or 5 dates with this guy and we didn't kiss and we had met on a dating app. And I was just and this was way pre-COVID times, 2 years ago. And I was just kind of okay, so did you come on Hinge to make friends? What the fuck is the deal? And then I don't know. So I was I don't want to be in that situation again. So I just kind of was hey, I know it's COVID and things are weird, but what is the general vibe? And I think we're fine. But
Strange. It's strange. For me, I'm definitely going for a kiss on a date 3, so now I consider myself on date 3 with this girl. So if we met up in person.
That is the weird thing too. The first date, I was fine with not trying to kiss, and I don't even do that in normal COVID excluded times. But it is weird because when you've had 2 FaceTime dates and then you meet up, you're is this date 3? It's kind of like date 1.5. I don't know what it is. But then by the second time, I'm kind of okay, now it's all right.
Well, it's an interesting question. It's one I have to chew on. I'm very green to this. I've only been on 3 FaceTime dates total, so what do I know about anything? But let me say this, people. First of all, shout out to yet another person, Justine, who has been another person kind of in my back pocket here telling me hey, cheer up or whatever. Don't be sad and just giving me general advice. You love to hear it, people.
You do.
I'm reading a very fascinating book. I am jumping between books, people. Don't think I'm like closing books down. I
know. I was like, wow. You got a book reading.
My buddy Sean recommended this one. The name escapes me, but the premise is that depression cannot be cured by antidepressants, and that if you actually look at all the science, all the studies are basically maybe not fully bullshit, but that their actual effects are very limited and can only help people in a very limited way. And just to rapidly give you one of the concrete aspects of that is, like, in psychology, they do have an exception, and it was known as the grief exception. And you could exhibit all the symptoms of depression because you were grieving, but you wouldn't be actually depressed.
Interesting.
And so then you go, well, is depression then a neurochemical imbalance if it's something that's as natural as grieving? This seems like a glaring contradiction in the whole kind of concept of a depression. And all the psychologists are like, oh yeah, it's totally depression. But the drug companies are like, well, no, there's no contradiction there. Anyway, take, whatever it's called, Paxil or Prozac. Fascinating book. But one thing that the book claims that I'm actually not sure about, it talks a lot about connection being very linked, and it kind of talks about what are the connections. A meaningful job is one of the connections, and feeling like you have an impact on a community or the world. And then obviously we get into like connections with friends and family, and he kind of stressed in person and that social networks don't count. But I sort of have felt, because I hit this really bad low on Saturday of last week, and those were the vibes. And by the way, my energy was very low on the podcast because we were recording in the morning. I wasn't like, we
had both just like woken up, I feel like.
yeah. But I was very sad. And so what I did rather maniacally was message upwards of 20 people and just started having all these interactions, started planning all these Zoom calls. And I got to say, it helped me a lot. It helped me feel like I have people that matter to me. I have a community that matters, and people that are happy to hear from me. And actually, this is really cool. I was like, I should do a little writers group, my funny friends. And I actually got to introduce, well, they'd met before, but Sarah came. I didn't even expect her to because it was like a spontaneous
I never checked
thing.
My personal email. Whoops.
Yeah, well, Sarah's more of a planner, and I just kind of spontaneously did this. And me and my friend Ronnie and Sarah, we just wrote, and it was really fun. And like,
it was fun.
I don't know. I guess for anyone out there who's feeling sad, Zoom is something. I say it's not nothing. That's all I'm saying.
I think obviously like these people didn't write this book with a pandemic in mind, but I feel like in a pinch, like virtual interaction is like a decent substitute for the real thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think he was saying more social networks to give the book a little bit of fairness, which I agree with.
I mean, you can't be like, oh, I have 500 Facebook friends. I'm doing great. I'm so well loved if you like don't talk to any of those people.
Right. Well, anyway, guys, feel free to reach out again. Thanks so much, everyone. And if I forgot to shout you out, just let me know. I'm sure I will remember, but really, it's awesome. And I was thinking like, God, I'm not, it helps me stay out of depression having all these people be like, Danny, I'm living vicariously through you. Your dating nightmare, and I'm proud of you for getting your shit together. That was Justine. So it's been good to hear. Guys, got to do this. Please rate, review, subscribe. It means a lot, guys. Helps the podcast grow. You get it. We'd love to see you on the Patreon. We're doing call-in shows. We're doing weekly bonus episodes. We're dropping all the juice. Is it sad juice? Oh, it's the saddest, baby. You know it. Guys, before we do guess the verdict, just realize there's a crackling sound that will play. It's nothing wrong with your system. My mic cable messed up. We're gonna play a little round of guess the verdict. I'm very excited. I have a new method here for trying to take Sarah out. Here we go. AITA for sleeping over at my GF's 4 nights a week, making her roommate uncomfortable and causing her to flip out.
Okay. This is interesting because either the roommate is nuts or these people are way too, what's the word? I don't know what the word is. Or they're taking advantage. Hard to say. I would go with NTA.
NTA is wrong. Boo. Now, it's a very interesting situation. Basically, there is definitely a lot of spending the night, 4 nights a week. Him and the GF cook twice a week. They showered. This was the breaking point. They showered for 30 minutes together.
Okay.
And this is where the roomie flipped out. Instead of just knocking, the roommate flipped out, I guess, as they exited the shower after the shower and just started lighting into them. And the reason I was so excited about this is because it was a classic case of internalized unassertiveness because I think the roommate was severely bothered and just hadn't said anything and just felt it was very unfair, and then essentially looked terrible. And, and then this guy obviously kind of was like, well, I was doing something kind of wrong. I was staying there a lot. B pajama, top verdict, says, YTA, you've been there for most of the week for the last few months. You're a third roommate who doesn't pay rent, and she never agreed to it.
Oh, okay. That makes sense to me, but I guess I'm surprised that they didn't factor the blow up.
Right. I mean, for me, what I thought was interesting is I've had some of these interactions, and I'm actually partly in this right now because, my roommate's leaving, and I'm not about to like indict her for things that I think are really unfair, which is largely that she works in the living room, because I'm like, that's totally unfair. You're in the living room all day. And I actually have had a meltdown on her, and she's like, why are you yelling about this? And I'm like,
oh my God. Seriously?
I know why. Yeah.
Like,
but anyways, so you did not score there. That's your turn.
okay, AITA for telling my wife she's overbearing and annoying.
I feel like it feels a little careful. The word overbearing feels like a careful word. So I'm going to assume OP is the good guy. I'm going to say NTA.
Close. Not really, but wrong. The top verdict was ESH. Essentially, like, OP's wife is annoying. Like, she is super clingy. She'll call when he's at work at least once a day. And so before work one day, OP accidentally cut himself, like, with a knife, as one does. The wife called his manager no less than 4 times to check up on him. And OP said to his wife, I love you, but your behavior today was insane and you're acting very overbearing and annoying. The top verdict was ESH. You guys have the relationship skills of teenagers because you got together as teenagers. Therapy.
That is a fire point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I did see a great tweet about, parents just, I think it was your friend, Steven. Mm-hmm. Parents, they're just, a lot of parents just had kids without ever getting therapy, which I think is an interesting point, something I've been thinking about, just not being experienced enough really, but it's like a thing that's out there, the psychology woke generation is us.
Yeah, I don't think our parents' generation was like, oh my God, therapy is amazing. I feel like it was still definitely stigmatized.
AITA for trying to tell someone, quote unquote, not to worry about it.
What? Okay. No assholes here.
Holy shit, Sarah, you got a gold medal.
What?
I can't believe you pulled it off. I can't believe you pulled it off. Guys, just so you know, if you're not in on the kind of deeper game against the verdict, it's the most safe way to win this game is to find no assholes here and ESH, because 90% of the things are NTA, so then 5 are YTA. So I can't believe you just did this.
Wow.
Sarah. You pulled it off. NAH is correct. Here's the deal. This is a juicy one too. OP's friend and OP have a mutual coworker. Coworker tragically lost 2 kids in an accident. OP's friend super close to the coworker, very sad. OP was trying not to give advice, so they're really kind of setting themselves up that they're being very appropriate, but they ended up telling their friend, right, you don't have to continue empathizing when it becomes destructive. Mm-hmm. And I'm giving OP the B of the D here because the response that OP's friend gave was a complete non sequitur. They said, how could I say that I'm the sad one after all they've been through? Also, what I go through is nothing compared to them. And I'm like, what? That's not really what he was saying.
Yeah, I feel like no friend would play that game. Like no friend would be like, oh, your problems aren't legit because of my problems that are bigger.
Well, yeah. Well, I think, OP wasn't saying he was saying stop empathizing, like pull yourself out of the emotional hole you're in. He's not saying don't talk to them or something, right?
Okay.
That's how I interpret it. Nonetheless, SQITTEN, Skitten says no assholes here. But yes, you do need to apologize. You should apologize because you're not an asshole. You meant well, but your actions hurt her. Your actions did not reflect your intentions, which is when you owe somebody an apology and can give one sincerely. On a side note, most people can't just choose to not care about other people, and to the extent some can, it is often by doing so in an unhealthy manner.
I mean, you can't just switch off the caring switch. It's like you cannot act on it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have some qualmage with that kind of construction. I guess I got some qualmage here, Sarah. I guess I would say, yes, I understand. You can't just choose to not care. Of course, it's not a light switch, but you can actively create distance. And I'm very now into boundaries and understanding boundaries. And look, somebody in a horrific thing like this does deserve and will need a lot of friends and will need people to show up for them. But that doesn't mean that you have to kind of sacrifice yourself if it's really starting to negatively impact you.
Yeah.
So, I don't think it's nice to equate that to not caring, because it's not caring.
Right.
It's just caring about yourself and realizing like there is a boundary there where like you can't be completely sucked into this horrible tragedy.
Right. Yeah, I think that's fair. All right. AITA for refusing to pay for all the guacamole.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Refusing to pay for all the guacamole. So I'm seeing like they went to the restaurant, OP ordered the guac, and then, you know, everyone ate it. So but they're like, I really have to pay for all of it. And they're like, yeah, well, you're the one who ordered it and you said we could eat some. I'm going YTA.
You'd think, and that's what I thought too, but the top verdict was NTA. So here's what happened. OP and the family go to a Mexican restaurant. He orders 2 burritos with sour cream and guac inside. That's key. OP writes, I have the damnedest time getting guacamole inside the burrito, so when the waitress confirmed back to me, I stated it once more explicitly, yes, please, inside the burrito. I think you can guess what happens next. The burritos come. The sour cream and guac are on the side. The sour cream is a normal amount, but the waitress shows up with 2 full appetizer sides of guac, which are like $7 each. OP asked the waitress if like she could do anything about it. They had wanted, you know, like a small side as you do. The waitress took off one side of guac. OP tipped 20%. Wife said OP was being the asshole. So the top verdict was salty with a twist. NTA bringing 2 whole bowls and charging for them of what should have been a small side cup is stupid. The waitress should have checked with you first.
So I don't understand. So OP didn't get the guac in the burrito, which is what he wanted.
He didn't get the guac in the burrito, but like when you order a side of guacamole, you think like a little Chipotle cup, not like an entire appetizer for guacamole for like 4 people. And they got 2 of those.
Okay, so the waiter, this sounds so made up. What waitress brings out 2 enormous tubs of guacamole?
Yes,
the
that
most
is what
expensive.
happened.
By weight, guacamole is, you know, Mexican food gold.
Yeah, right?
Ridiculous.
I know, who's wasting that much guac? It's a good point. And now I want guac.
Once again, Sarah has defeated me. She got 1. I got 0. I'm on a long losing streak here. Well, hey, that's 2020 for me, folks.
And everyone.
Hope you're all doing well. Much love for all of you. Please rate, review, subscribe. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/AITA pod. Submit, AITApod.com. And know this, folks, we got one heck of an ep for you today. Our second story of the day, AITA for moving to the same neighborhood as my ex and his wife. But first, AITA for telling my wife to grow up and for celebrating Christmas without her. Wife, 40F, and I, 42M, together for 23 years, married for 17. Wow.
Woo.
We have 4 daughters together, 16, 15, 13, 11. 16, 15, 13, 11. Tight spread. You love to see it. Really going to keep those gals close. Our relationship is good. We don't fight and we don't have any major issues. When we had our oldest, we decided that she would stay at home with her and our future kids.
It worked well. Meaning the wife.
What's that?
I think she meaning the wife and not like our one daughter would raise the other daughters. It was confusing.
Oh, that's how I took it too.
Yeah, it's confusing.
Okay. Bit bold there. Yeah, we'll just have her raise them.
Yeah, no big deal.
It worked well until last year. As our daughters got older, they didn't need much attention from her. It caused problems. She was used to being a full-time mom, but her daughters are quite independent for their ages. So she got a lot of free time on her hands and didn't know what to do. We discussed things and I told her that this would be a good time to finish her master's degree. She wasn't keen on it. So she joined the gym and a few book clubs. Then our oldest introduced her to TikTok.
Oh, God.
And she got addicted. She started posting stuff about her private life. But hey, she wasn't bored and she was happy, so I went along. I even participated in a few. Then she started doing pranks on me. It was particularly, quote unquote, funny because I get scared very easily. The pranks started to get more elaborate. I told her to stop, and we had a lot of heated arguments about this.
Uh-oh.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
In March, I was taking a bath. She got in the bathroom and dumped a bucket of ice on me while recording the whole thing. I freaked out, got up very fast, slipped, and hit my head pretty hard on the tub. I'm a big guy, 6'4", 248 pounds. Okay. A little bit of a flex. Didn't eat it. So it was pretty bad. I woke up in a hospital 2 days later. Apparently, I got a hematoma from the accident and had to get brain surgery.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
That is my biggest fear.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's giving me like my body is shaking. I had to stay in the hospital for almost 2 weeks. I'm still doing physiotherapy sessions. I don't have total control of my left arm. Oh my God. This is like divorce status.
Yeah. Holy shit.
After the accident, the previously good relationship that my wife had with my family, my mom has 3 sons. I'm the eldest, and we started dating very early. So my wife was the daughter my mom never had. Took a pretty big hit. They got into a few fights with her, and I had to step in and ask everyone to calm down a bit. On to the issue.
What do you mean? That's not the issue?
That wasn't the fucking issue?
Whoa.
On to the issue. My wife and I alternate holidays between her family and mine. One year we go to Christmas with her family. The next one we stay with my parents. This year, we're supposed to stay with my parents, but she doesn't want that. My family still makes some snarky comments, and my brothers are pretty passive-aggressive with her. She doesn't want to go to my parents this year because of that. I told her that I'm going with or without her. She told me that I can't take our daughters without her. We got into a fight. I told her that I'm going. She told me she won't drive there. I can't drive since the accident. I called my brother. He'll drive us there. Our daughters are excited to see my parents. We got into a fight, and she is currently not speaking with me. Her sisters think I am a jerk and that I'm being too harsh on her because the lockdown was hard on her. AITA.
Oh my God. Holy shit. I don't even know where to start. This is so bad.
I mean, I think that what's happening here is that she hasn't really kind of internalized the seriousness of what happened.
Which is nuts. How could you not? Your husband can't drive and can't move his arm?
Honestly, I do see how she cannot because it's a defense mechanism because what she did to him is so horrible.
That's true.
It really is. You know, it's, oh God, I mean, it's just, look, honestly, it's horrible what she did, even though it was, I think, playful. I think a lot of people struggle with like pranks, you know, I think
hate
scares.
Pranks. I feel like half of our situations are due to like stupid ass pranks.
Well, I feel like people don't understand that a prank, actually, a good prank requires a fair amount of thoughtfulness and like foresight.
And it
like,
also
I think
should be harmless.
Exactly. That's why I think scares tend to be very good because it's like you scare someone, they're uncomfortable, but there's no permanent damage. It was just a little fun scare, you know, but you make someone slip, you start to use ice, stuff like that, then you're really introducing danger into the situation. I mean, ice in the bathtub is just a recipe for disaster there.
Bad. Yeah.
Ben C writes, ESH, there's still a pandemic. Why was anyone talking about going anywhere for the holidays? It's valid, but I don't want to take it that route. I'd rather just focus on the situation.
Yeah, same.
Though there's definitely some truth there.
Yeah.
Jenia J writes, NTA, she almost killed you and she wants to pretend it never happened. WTF. I think that's what this is made of, right? Because it's
no kidding.
I think this is a, you know, enormous event for a couple to process because I don't even necessarily know that OP can fully grasp how impactful this is. I mean, this is a permanent disability of a sort, or at least a very long-term disability that she has put on him. I mean, brain surgery? Are you kidding me?
I mean, I just feel like if I had done something like, or like if I was in this situation and like my SO, you know, caused me to have a horrible accident with brain damage, I think passive aggressive comments from my family would be the least of their problems. Like, I just can't imagine.
Right.
Like, you can't put up with a little bit of like snark after you did something like so fucking horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's inappropriate, but I think the snarkiness probably comes from a lack of ownership on her part.
Yeah.
Right? Because I would say, like, imagine you do something horrible like this. You know, I'm just, okay, if I did this, you know, knowing what I now know, I would be like, we need to go to therapy. We need to really work through this. I think it's not going to be straightforward for you to forgive me because I've permanently damaged your body, which is horrible.
Yeah.
You know, the amount of guilt this would really put into me as someone who was raised Catholic is frankly nightmarish. I'm not even going to fuck with ice for 2021.
I can't imagine.
Ice. So I think there's a lot of processing that's not being done. That said, I do feel like this isn't a kind of thing to passively aggressively reference. And like, I actually think that's a fair boundary for her. But in the context of it, really just seems like she's kind of minimizing and denying the significance of this.
Yeah.
That's where I turn on her.
That's where I feel like the comments come in because I would imagine that if she was really like completely remorseful and genuinely trying to make amends, they wouldn't be making those types of comments. Do you know what I'm getting at? Like, I feel like you're right. It's coming I imagine those comments are coming from a place of her having not taken ownership.
Exactly. That's my read as well. Sarah L. writes, NTA, she could be in jail. You are having to deal with ongoing serious neurological issues from her prank, assault. She can toughen up and deal with some awkwardness in the family of the man she nearly killed through immature harassment. Yeah, I think that
harsh, but
pretty much
not wrong.
spells it out. Surprisingly, some detractors, Donna R., your wife comes first. Don't go without her. If your family's belittling her, why would you want to subject her to that? Yes, she made a mistake trying to play with you. I bet she'll blames herself. Your family is who are in your home. Huh, really? You bet she blamed herself? Sure doesn't sound like she does.
I know. That's the whole problem.
That's the whole problem. Top Reddit comment. NTA, she has permanently disabled you for freaking views on TikTok. She needs to put on her big girl panties and deal with your family being pissed off. Yeah. This is something that needs to be dealt with. Alicia R., YTA, if you've forgiven her for the prank gone wrong, why bring it up? Okay. I think I've talked about this before, but I don't think forgiveness is a choice. I've tried to kind of chew on this.
Interesting.
Yeah, like you can't just choose to forgive someone. You can open yourself up, you can talk to them, and they can apologize, but actually forgiving takes more. It's not a choice. It just isn't. It's something that can be unlocked with enough time and work, and you can try to get it from someone and try to get to a forgiving place. But as you kind of go down a rabbit hole of worse and worse things that someone might have done to you, it becomes more and more difficult to just straight up forgive them.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and I agree in that true forgiveness isn't linear.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I'm kind of thinking of, like, you know, when a couple, like, if you're in a couple and, like, one partner cheats, you can still choose to stay with them, but it's going to be ups and downs while the person who was betrayed has to grapple with, like, those emotions and everything, and it takes time to actually get to a place. And just because, like, you haven't chosen to break up that moment doesn't mean everything's all good.
Exactly. And that's, you know, anyone who is unable to recognize that has an unrealistic idea about how apologies and forgiveness and, you know, essentially like...
Yeah, it's not just like, oh, one and done. Especially when you do something like this.
Right, exactly. Well, I think cheating is a great thing, too. It's like, yeah, you can agree to stay together, but you're not going to be able to forgive them. Not right away.
Not right away.
For months.
Definitely
Probably not for a year.
Yeah.
So this is something that has to be processed. And instead, I think we're just getting vibes from her that she is not willing to furtherly process it and has seemed to have taken a tactic that's more about her feelings and what happened with her.
Yeah.
You know, at the same time, it's like there's a gap between, there's a phrase that comes to mind, right? And there's a gap between processing this and understanding its significance and working through it and raking someone over the coals.
Right.
Right. And so I see a little bit of that in the passive aggressive comments. And I do think those comments are toxic, but I think we're both kind of viewing those as symptoms of the disease here. And the disease is that she hasn't taken ownership over this and she isn't processing this. And she's in fact just kind of like, sweep it under the rug. If you're trying to sweep it under the rug, you're going to get raked over the coals.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be one thing if OP was like, my wife was extremely apologetic and did all XYZ steps and went to therapy and like this and that and deleted her TikTok and all this. I think it would be different, but it doesn't sound like any of that is really happening. And also her family is trying to turn it around him and be like, oh, well, lockdown's been hard on her. Like, don't you think being in the hospital for 2 weeks was hard on OP? Yeah,
you damaged his brain. I mean, even though all of our brains are damaged by coronavirus, it's not physical damage. So, well, it is physical. Anyway, I'm about to spill into like a crazy discussion of dualism that is not necessary. Nonetheless, AITA for telling my wife 40F to grow up and for celebrating Christmas without her, we agree. NTA and she is.
Yes, we agree.
All y'all, please rate, review, subscribe. Please, guys, please go into the iTunes, the podcast app on your iPhone and rate the podcast. Takes 2 seconds. Rate us 5 stars. And if you like the podcast and you want more of this, join us on Patreon. And even if you're like, hey, I would actually like more of this specific aspect of the pod, like I like when Danny cries or whatever, then go into the Patreon and request because we give anyone what they want.
He'll do it, people. He will cry. Doesn't take much these days.
We're building to it. AITA, for moving into the same neighborhood as my ex and his wife.
Oh boy.
My engagement to Matt ended after I found he was cheating on me with Claire. He ended up marrying Claire after I dumped him. During our engagement, we were looking to move to a new house. Everything was ready for us to move in. We just had to sign the paperwork. Matt ended up moving into the house with Claire.
Rough. You hate to see it.
OP. This all happened 4 years ago, and I moved on since. My fiance and I were living in his house until 2 months ago. He decided he wanted to demolish and rebuild it, so we had to find another place to stay whilst it's being built. Wow, look at that. The whilst drop. We ended up finding a house in the same hood as my ex and his wife. When Matt and I originally found the house he now lives in with his wife, I did all of the work finding it. I love that house, and I was more upset about not being able to move into it than finding out they were getting married. Also, the owner told us he would only rent the place to us for a year because he was planning to sell it, so I didn't actually think they would still be living there. We've lived here for 2 months now. The first month was peaceful, and I didn't see my ex or his wife once. And the second month, I became more friendly with some of my neighbors, and they introduced me to the other neighbors, including Claire. Oh no. That evening, she came to my house and went on a long rant about how I was trying to get Matt back and I was a stalker.
Oy.
After that, I started seeing Matt a lot, and he wouldn't stop making convo with me. Oh, no.
Oh, boy.
Things got really heated a few days ago when Claire caught Matt talking to me. She screamed at me in the middle of the road, and it was super embarrassing. Claire's friends and family now have taken to social media to pressure me to move because I'm ruining a good marriage. Okay, so here's where I might be an asshole. Our lease is month to month, so we could technically move as soon as we find a new place, but I don't want to. I feel like they already stole one house from me. Why should I give this one up too?
Oh,
I've also asked Matt, and even my fiance has told him to stop talking to me, but I can't control what he does. AITA.
Oh boy. I feel like honestly this sounds like the plot of some new domestic fiction. And I would read the shit out of that book, OP, in case you're listening to this.
It's definitely juicy. It's definitely a juicy thing. I feel like there's a concept here. Yeah, I think I got it. This is a throwback concept.
Hit me.
Principled pettiness.
Oh, yeah. I barely remember that.
That's what this is, right? She's like, well, I have a right to live here. I'm not doing anything wrong. Obviously, Claire and Matt have issues, and it is petty. I could leave at any time, but I'm going to stay.
It's also like work and money to leave, and the arrangement is temporary to begin with.
Well, but it's month to month anyway. But so
yeah, but you'd have to find a new place, maybe pay broker fee, pay movers.
Yeah.
It's like you're adding in an extra move in there, which is annoying, and I wouldn't want to do it either.
That's true. Well, it's the fact that she doesn't really say that. I almost feel like her attitude is, why should I give this one up too?
Completely.
More obstinate, not like, oh, practically this would be stupid. And that's where I was going to try to come at OP a little bit, because I was going to say like, okay, fine. Like, I don't think there's a lot of grounds here to indict you, but like,
no.
Is this really the psychological milieu you want your house to live in? Because what are you doing with your life?
A plus vocab.
Right? Like what? Why? I don't want to wake up under assault from social media and deal with all these people and deal with all this bullshit. Like that's an expense.
Yeah.
That's expensive. That's like taxing.
But yes, that's true. But I totally see her side of being like, I don't want to let them win 2 times. And I honestly respect that she's not pretending like it's about the hassle of moving. Like she's straight up. She's like, no, this is just pettiness.
I get it, but I do think pettiness is pettiness. And I think this is kind of a classic case of maybe just get some space. You're not allowing there to be space. And part of you likes it, but I would say that it is a little sick to me, you know? And I think Claire and Matt are horrible people and their relationship sucks.
Yes.
But you are kind of intertwining your life with them over a house. Is that really worth it to you? Is your self-worth that low that you need to win this war with this piece of shit person? What are you doing?
I actually think to me, what stuck out more is the beginning of this process, because it's like, of all the neighborhoods to choose in whatever city you live in, like you go out of your way to choose this neighborhood. Like I think OP was kind of planning this from the get-go on a subconscious level.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And now You know, she's doubling down and she thinks she's winning, but is this really what winning looks like? You're still defining your life next to this piece of shit who cheated on you. You're still very much in a relationship. And I've been trying to tell people this. I don't know who I was trying to tell this to, probably myself, but you know, really, as long as you're interacting with someone, you're in a relationship with them, even if you're doing things just related to them, right? Like you are in a relationship, you're letting yourself stay in it. And that is why boundaries can be so important, because you get in a no contact vibe and then they really stop impacting you. And the reality is that she still is in a relationship with this Matt who sucks, and she knows he sucks.
Yeah.
Sarah C, NTA, and she sounds like a nut, but you're an absolute fool if you stay in that neighborhood. It's not about what they stole. It's a loss. It sucks. I get it. Move on and move out or you'll regret it. 100%. Sarah C, killing it. Lauren M, having been cheated on, I'm finding it hard to feel sympathy for Claire. She doesn't own the entire hood, and maybe she could learn something from seeing how it feels to have her husband talking to another woman frequently.
Ooh, burn.
Well, I mean, look, this is classic projection, right? I mean, literally, right?
Yeah, duh.
Yeah, this is so classic. Of course, Claire knows Matt's a cheater. Of course she knows
like
that.
she would know better than anyone except for the OP, I guess.
Exactly. And there's that phrase that my parents always say, you know, if they'll do it with you, they'll do it to you.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's spot on. Don S., I don't know if you're really the asshole, but you for sure a drama mama. Okay. Ooh. I don't know what that means exactly here. There was no reason for you to move to that hood. Whatever research you did was about living in a particular house with a different man. And I'm sure you found other neighborhoods that were suitable. Your whole reason for living there is temporary while the new house is built. So why couldn't you handle picking a house in your second choice, Nabe, for a few months?
Yeah, I mean, I think OP's thing about her original house that she found with Matt only being a year lease is just a little plausible deniability status. Because it's like, did you really not think at all there was a possibility they would be there when you went looking? Or if not them, like she was definitely looking to kind of recreate that experience with that same house.
Yeah, I think so. She was maybe like, maybe, but I hope not. That's what I think subconsciously is like, maybe, but I hope not.
Right. I don't think that she like had no inclination that they might still be living there.
Top Reddit comment, Kat McKay14 writes, NTA, it sounds like Matt's not over you and Claire knows it. You're not obligated to move because they can't stand you being there. If he wanted to keep you, he shouldn't have cheated. And if she didn't want a cheating husband, she shouldn't have married a known cheater. This is 100% not your problem. Well, I disagree with that. It's
like
it
is her problem because this is now a problem that affects her. Just that she's getting roped into this. Like, I don't think that him being a sketchball is her problem because that's just who he is, kind of. But like, you're roped into this whether you like it or not now.
Hey, part of boundaries is literal physical boundaries. Shout out to the original boundary, a wall, my good dude.
Oh my God.
Y'all threw your house right next to their house. By the way, think about how close they must live if they met neighbors and then the neighbors knew Claire. So clearly this isn't even that big of a neighborhood. What are the chances?
True.
What are the chances? I mean, this is ridiculous. I honestly, I do not have a problem with OP. I don't think I could call them the asshole. They're being an asshole to themselves because it's just wildly like you're just letting your unconscious and subconscious run wild to your own detriment.
Ooh.
Nonetheless,
spicy, but yeah.
I am not going to go that far with my verdict because I think we do agree that AITA for moving to the same neighbor as my ex and his wife. Well, no, I don't know, because she did kind of start shit. She is kind of trying to start shit when she was going through the process of moving there.
I'm pretty torn, to be honest.
No, I'm ready to go ESH.
Really?
She wanted shit to get shitty.
I think like of all the other neighborhoods, there have to have been other neighborhoods. I think OP didn't, there's no way that she could have looked for this house and moved there without at least the possibility occurring to her that they could still be there.
Of course.
Like, I walk down the streets of New York and I'm just like, what if I run into my ex who told me 2 years ago that he moved here and I haven't heard from since? Like, come on, you moved to their neighborhood.
Exactly. No, and this was much more and here's what it is. This is why I'm able to comfortably be ESH now.
Let's go.
The person that is the victim of OP is actually not Matt or Claire, though they are victims, so who cares about them? It's her current boyfriend.
Yes, her
fiance.
Yes.
Because she's still in a relationship with Matt.
Yes.
That's the truth.
I was thinking that it's kind of like you're putting your own relationship on the line for this dumb pettiness.
Exactly. I think we agree. I think I brought you on.
I can go there.
Hell yeah. Into the same hood as my ex and his wife. We agree. Everyone sucks here.
Yeah. Honestly, they do all suck.
They do all suck.
I think it's fair.
Guys, please rate, review, subscribe. Takes 30 seconds. We really appreciate it. Join the Patreon for weekly bonus episodes. Patreon.com/AITA pod. We love to see it. All right, folks, let's wrap up here on everybody's favorite part of the show, listener submish. AITA for not caring that my wife doesn't like the middle name I want for our child. I, 35M, and my wife, 32F, are expecting our first kid, a boy, in March. We agree. Gender's a contract. Just kidding. Okay. We agreed on a first name pretty quickly. It's a name we both like, but it has no connection to either of our families. For the middle name, I asked if we could use the name Michael, which was the name of my father who passed away last year. My wife, unfortunately, has a history with that name. You see, about a year ago, before she and I met, she was engaged to another guy, Michael. They were together for 6 years, and he actually ended their engagement relationship a few weeks before they were supposed to get married. Was that that was Matt in the last situation. I was like, wait, is this? Okay. They were together for 6 years. He ended their relationship weeks before they were supposed to get married. When he ended the engagement, she had to be the one to make all the calls, texts, emails, etc., letting her friends, family, venue, caterers, etc. know the wedding was off. All in all, it was terrible. I get it. I empathize. I understand it was terrible, upsetting, and that giving your child the same name as her ex makes her feel awkward. But I've wanted to use this name since I knew we were expecting.
Oh, boy.
Okay? That's what I wanted. And I told her that it's not like we're using it for his first name, just his middle name. She told me the idea still bothered her and reminded her of the most embarrassing experience of her life. Here's where I may be the asshole. I told her Michael's a common name, and if she can't go through life without having a reaction every time she hears the name Michael or meets somebody named Michael, then maybe she needs to get a grip. I know that was a mean thing to say, but I also feel like she was being totally dismissive of why I wanted to use this name. I see where she's coming from, but deep down, I also think she needs to get over it. I also really, really do not want to budge on this, so IDK AITA.
Oh my God.
Wow.
This is not the same thing at all, bro. Like,
OP.
Not wanting to give your son the middle name of the guy who like almost left you at the altar is not the same thing as her not being able to like listen to Michael Bublé because she can't stand the name Michael. Come on. We know it's not the same.
We know it's not the same. And OP, we thank you for your submission, but you've put us in a bind here, my friend. I know this name is important to you, but how can you accuse her of being dismissive when you yourself here have
so
dismissed the ever-living shit out of this massive trauma, this horrible thing that happened to this poor woman whom you love? I don't hear really any sense that you claim to empathize with her, do you? I don't think you do.
Yeah. No, he doesn't. He told her to get a grip.
You say get a grip, get over it, and that you don't want to budge. Really? Well, I think this is probably the single worst thing. I hope it is. I hope this is the single worst thing that has happened to your wife because it's horrible. It's a horrible thing. And I don't hear any empathy or understanding coming from you for what, a fucking middle name? Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Why do you give a shit so much? It's his middle name. Who cares?
Yeah.
You know? You're stuck on this thing. Well, this is a real terrible thing that happened to her. And what ultimately you want is a vanity plate for your kid.
Vanity plate.
Give me a break. Patty W., I want to say neither of you are the asshole, but your reaction makes you the asshole. As much as your life experience makes you want that name, her life experience makes her not want it. It's different to have a Michael as a coworker making your coffee, but as her child, it's unfair if it brings up hard feelings for her.
Yeah.
Ashley K., YTA, you have a completely legit reason to want to give your child that middle name, and she has a completely legit reason to not want that as a middle name. You said she's being dismissive of your reasoning. Seems like, to me, she explained her side to you, and you're being dismissive of her reasoning. See, there's an exercise that, I don't think I've ever used this successfully, because I think when I've tried this in relationships, it didn't go over well, but I love it. I have used it at work, actually, and it's like, say we're fighting about something, and you go, okay, well, what I want is to get hamburgers, and you say, well, I want to get hot dogs, and you go, okay, well, I need hamburgers, so we're both like sort of adamant, and you can look into this place, and you just go, all right, a scale from 1 to 10, how important is this for you? And as long as both people are kind of being honest, because it does send you inward, right? Because you're asking them a question, you know, and usually I've found myself when I face these questions, I go, honestly, this is really more of a 4. You know, this isn't that big of a deal. It's like, and then you kind of get out of that conflict mindset, and then it kind of becomes obvious, because then if they say like, oh, well, it's a 7, I'm like, wow, you really want a hot dog?
Yeah, you
All
care
right,
this
shit.
much. All right.
Yeah, I mean, God, I didn't realize you were going to freaking kiss the hot dog. Donna R.
That was one time.
Do you want her to think of him every time she writes his name? Why not use your father's middle name? YTA. I wouldn't want my daughter named after my husband's ex. Crystal T, YTA, your son will have your father's last name. That's a good point. Update from OP. Here we go. OP here. Just wanted to update. After posting this, I went on a long walk and thought about this. Shout out to long walks. Always a good way to process things. I realized I was being an asshole. Then I came and read all these responses that confirm what I knew. I was being an asshole.
There we go.
I was in an emotional moment and acted like a jackass. Anyways, we decided to go with my father's middle name, William. Coincidentally, this is also my wife's great-grandfather's name.
Woo.
This is a decision we're both happy with. Wow, I'm actually kind of welling up at the fact that this group kind of brought this person to the good side.
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you, OP. My father and I were super close, so I was really focused on my own pain, and it stopped me from actually listening to my wife. I'm ready to get a tattoo of this. I was really, God, if I had $1 for every time this happened, because here's the thing is that the OP is so self-aware, and I'm so proud of you, OP.
Same.
Let's just go over that quote again. I was really focused on my own pain, and it stopped me from actually listening to my wife. I've had a lot of conflicts that come back to this, though they don't always realize it's about their own pain and their own shit. That's the problem, is there's a gap, but OP is got it together, so they saw what they were doing. They go on. To me, that's a sign I have some of my own work to do around my grief. Most importantly in any of this, I apologize to my wife. She's the best, and I didn't deserve that. Thank you guys for confirming what I knew deep down. I am TA. I'm kind of crying. This is beautiful.
I kind of sensed that. Oh, yay.
I'm touched. OP, thank you for the submish. What a wild ride. I was like, oh boy, this guy. But no, it sounds like you really learned. And that's the point of the pod, in addition to me pouring out all my feelings and getting free therapy from my listeners. That's what we're here to do.
Legitimately.
So, AITA for not caring that my wife doesn't like the middle name. I want for our child, I think we do agree, as OP has said themselves, YTA, because they came around, we're offering a sentence of time served.
Yeah, totally. You were the asshole, but you're good. And thank you for their submission. Thank you for honestly accepting the verdict, not being defensive. And we respect you, OP.
We respect you, OP. Guys, that's the app. Thanks so much for tuning in. We love you. Have a very Merry Christmas or a Happy Hanukkah or whatever holiday.
Hanukkah's over. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
To celebrate. Okay. Retroactive Happy Hanukkah. How about that, Sarah?
I'll allow it.
And we'll see you guys next Monday morning with the call-in show, actually.
Woo.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.